Did you know your birthday doesn't tell the whole story when it comes to how old you really are? I've learned that your biological age, basically how old your cells and organs actually are, is one of the most powerful predictors of your long-term health. That's why I was so curious to try the True Age Test from True Diagnostic. It's a super simple at-home test that helps you uncover your biological age and gives you insight into your risk for things like Alzheimer's, heart disease, even early mortality. I ordered it myself because I wanted a clearer picture of my health beyond just checkups. It blew my mind to learn that if your biological age is just 5 years older than your actual age, your risk of major illness can go up by 30 to 50%. That was a wake-up call. But what really motivated me was this. Up to 90% of biological aging is driven by lifestyle. That means how we eat, sleep, move, and manage stress really matters. And we can slow it down. True Diagnostic doesn't just show you your biological age. You get a full personalized report loaded with science-backed steps to actually improve your health over time. I'm genuinely excited to see my results and make some smart changes, maybe dial in my sleep, or rethink my supplements, or just build better habits overall. The whole process is easy. Just a quick finger prick at home, pop your sample into the prepaid mailer, and a few weeks later, your results are online with clear, actionable insights. If you care about protecting your health and want to find out what your real age is, head over to truediagnostic.com and use my code RLRC to get 20% off your entire order or subscription. That's truediagnostic.com and use RLRC at checkout to get 20% off. Your future self will thank you. Hey, lifers, Woody Overton here, and I want to talk to y'all about something that's come up around our house more than once lately: hormones. Now, I can't speak from personal experience on this one, but I've seen it firsthand with Cindy. There were days she'd be feeling drained, overwhelmed, even a little off. We couldn't figure out why. She was eating right, taking care of herself, getting things done like always, but something just wasn't clicking. Turns out it wasn't just stress. It wasn't just being tired. She took this free 2-minute quiz from a company called Happy Mammoth, and it gave her some serious insight into what might be going on with her hormone levels. After answering just a few simple questions, she got personalized breakdown, and one of the main things it pointed out was that her body may be overloaded with estrogen. That's when we found Hormone Harmony, Happy Mammoth's plant-based herbal formula designed to support your hormone levels, stress response, and overall well-being. Since Cindy started taking Hormone Harmony, she said it's made a noticeable difference. Things like occasional bloating, low energy, and those mild mood dips, all less frequent. And it didn't take a huge lifestyle overhaul to see those changes. Just a small daily habit that fit right into her routine. Now listen, this isn't some one-size-fits-all deal. This quiz gives you personalized recommendations so you can understand what's going on in your body and what might help you feel better. Whether it's Hormone Harmony or one of their other hormone support products, you'll know exactly where to start. And here's the thing. Happy Mammoth has helped thousands of women. They have over 40,000 5-star reviews, and a bottle of Hormone Harmony sells every 24 seconds. That many folks can't be wrong. Ready to start feeling like yourself again? Head over to happymammoth.com and take their free 2-minute hormone quiz today to find the ultimate answer to your stubborn hormonal issues. And for a limited time, you can also get 15% off your entire first order with my code RLRC at checkout. That's HAPPYMAMMOTH.com and use the code RLRC for 15% off today.
Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are the things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, don't let him buy you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real
Warning, this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. Today, we're going to be beginning a new series I've been telling y'all about for months, and it's human sex trafficking. Or is it?
Sex trafficking.
Sex trafficking. And the new series is going to be titled Sex Trafficking. And y'all, it's powerful stuff. It's real people, real stories. And today, and the reason I'm actually doing this, I always had the thought in my mind of because of all the stories that I know. But the reason I'm doing this is I have a very special guest for the first guest I've ever had in this studio, and her name is
Tina Dixon.
Miss Tina Dixon. All right, now, y'all. Miss Tina has a wealth of knowledge and a very detailed story on sex trafficking and everything that involves it. Right?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
Okay. So, Miss Tina, before we get started, where were you born?
Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Baton Rouge.
The Old Lady Lake Hospital.
Really? So was
Yeah.
I. So was I. And now Baton Rouge headquarters, right, for the PD?
Right, that's
Yeah,
exactly where it is.
And so you're raised in Baton Rouge?
I was raised in Baton Rouge and in Dutchtown.
All right. I know exactly where that is. And a couple off-the-wall questions. What's your favorite thing to eat?
Barbecue shrimp.
Really?
Yeah, Pasco Manale style.
Really? There you
Yeah.
go. Fancy, right? That's good stuff. But have you ever had shrimp fresh off the boat that haven't been flash frozen
Yeah,
or frozen?
absolutely.
It's night and day. It's like eating a filet mignon or a piece of flank steak. So, but barbecue shrimp.
My daddy lived in Pier Part across the street from the shrimp boat.
There you go. I had a shrimp boat when I retired from the state police. I sunk it twice.
Well, that's not a good
I had a bunch of crab traps, and my wife and I made 160 crab traps, and I lost them in a hurricane. But anyway, neither here nor there. So barbecue shrimp, and I would ask you about kids and all that stuff, but I think that's going to come out during your story. But you're a lifelong resident of Louisiana?
I'm a lifelong resident of Louisiana. I went to Las Vegas after Hurricane Katrina.
Really?
And I stayed there until 2016, from 2005 to 2016.
Okay.
And then came home.
All right. Then I had to go to Vegas many times for work. And when I was doing the defense consulting we were talking about earlier, and I was always in Vegas, and I've been a speaker at several conferences, et cetera. And I took Sydney for one of her birthdays just to go play. But did you live in Henderson County?
I lived in Henderson, yeah. I lived in Henderson, and I lived in Las Vegas proper too.
So the coming back home, South Louisiana, this is no culture in the world like it is.
No, it's like
totally
I miss Louisiana so bad.
Yeah.
When I came in, I was driving in Galvez over by Fred's, and you know how that big shadow of oak trees are right there. It was like the best feeling in the world.
I spent
I'm home.
Many a Sunday afternoon on Fred's back deck when I was in college, hanging out drinking. But all right, so I agree with you. And even though you come home to Louisiana and a lot of things are so messed up, like roads and different, the jobs, either in the seafood or the oil industry or whatever, tourism, or you got nothing, or agriculture. But so you're raised in Baton Rouge, and I'm going to let you start to tell a story. Okay. And the hardest thing in the world is for Woody Overton to shut up. but if you don't mind, and if it won't throw you off too much, I like to ask some questions as they pop into my head sometimes, because if I don't, then I'll forget them. I got score all in my head.
No worries.
So, all right, so tell me why we're here, and just I'm gonna let you flow.
Okay, that sounds good. I grew up in a real chaotic household. I was born in 1963. Yeah, I'm 62 years old.
Right.
A lot of my story, the trafficking story, happened in the late 70s and the early 80s. But I grew up in a real chaotic household. My dad was the president of an outlaw motorcycle called the Mariahs.
Okay.
And my mom
One percenters?
One percenters.
All right. Yeah, for y'all that don't know, one percenters are true outlaw gangs.
True outlaws.
They don't give a F about
anything.
The law.
It's the 1% of the world that don't give a F.
That's right. So if you ever see you're at your gas station or whatever, and you see somebody wearing leathers or they have a patch on, and if it doesn't have 1%, it's probably just your local joyride. If it has 1%, don't mess with it.
Right, don't mess with it. And about the time my mom was really abusive. Let's just back that up. I went through a lot of childhood abuse.
So like physical abuse, mental abuse,
sexual abuse.
Okay. If I ask you a question and you're uncomfortable, I can boom it out.
Absolutely.
Okay? But I'll be honest with you, we don't have to dramatize it because it's dramatic enough. But I think the more you tell of your story, like sexually abused by who or whatever, if you're comfortable doing it, that's what gets. And that's what gets people's heartstrings, because they got an uncle or they got a mom or they got somebody who did whatever. Right. I'm just thinking out loud. All right. Boom.
So about the time I was 11 years old, I started running away from home. When I was 11, I stole my mom's car and drove to LSU Lakes, got caught really quickly, ended up in juvenile detention over at Ryan Airport.
All right. And now I know I'm messing with flow. I got questions about that. So 11 years old, you began acting out, right? And usually that comes in juveniles like that after they've been offended against. There's something that's so bad in their lives that they just start doing that, right? So this is after you're being abused.
I had been sexually molested by a man that was in my father's motorcycle club.
Okay.
For a number of years. He was the babysitter.
Right. So he's a preferential offender, groomed your family into letting get their trust enough to let him babysit you, and he took advantage of the situation. Did he threaten you and say, "Don't tell," or was do you love me, or
Yeah, he threatened me, but he also played that like grown up girlfriend.
Wow, there you go. It makes you feel special.
Yes, yeah. And I'm going into early puberty at 11, 12 years old,
and you think it's I hope I don't offend you, but sometimes I'm going to curse. He's just making you think you're hot shit, and then you're thinking, wow, this is this is.
And that's exactly
Right.
what pimps do, the same
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely.
They
It's
start
grooming.
off
It's grooming.
Sexual predators
Yes.
of all sorts
And
groom
it-
their victims.
I've been dealt with them. That there's two types of sexual predators: preferential and situational. What you're dealing with there is a preferential. He had long before you, I'm sure, he had an age range that he liked to offend against, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're very not necessarily formally educated, but the profiles show they're very intelligent usually, meaning that they can manipulate people. They choose the right situations. They're very careful on not getting caught. Where the situational offender is like the ice cream man riding around the neighborhood. He grabs a kid up and rapes him because of situations, right? They're usually of lower intelligence and things like that. So this guy ingratiated himself into your family. He's abusing you. He's getting you to where you start to act out. That's what they call it. And for those of you who don't know, juvenile detention used to be, I think it's changed now, but it was by the Ryan Airport in Baton Rouge. And so you go to LSU, and I'm sorry for interrupting, I just want to tell the story. You go to LSU Lakes, y'all, back in the day, and when our age is not that far apart, you go to LSU Lakes at nighttime, there's what we call it watch the submarine races. That's where people used to go to make out and stuff. And who'd you get arrested by? Baton Rouge City or LSU police? Or?
Yeah, I know the Baton Rouge City police.
And you were in a stolen car.
In a stolen car, and my mom's stolen.
She reported
car.
it stolen.
She reported it stolen.
All right. And how long did you get locked up
I
for?
stayed in Ryan Airport for about 3 months, and then
Really?
they sent me to a children's home in New Orleans called St. Elizabeth's.
All right.
And actually, once I got to St. Elizabeth's, I straightened up a lot because, you had the stable environment.
Right.
We went to the Catholic schools. I rode the streetcar to school to go to the Catholic schools.
Had some structure.
Had some structure. And I did well, but the trauma that I had experienced from the molestation, I still had, I was just broken.
I understand. And a lot of times, and I know this because I've dealt with it so much in my career, but a lot of times it'll come out in different ways because you're still broken, but even that you don't know you're broken, right? People will be very promiscuous, act out sexually, or turn to drugs and alcohol and things like that. Even if you're in a better place now, you're not getting offended against or whatever, but at some point, what wasn't dealt with starts to rear its ugly head.
Right, and it continued to do that through my whole life. It just absolutely continued.
So back to St. Elizabeth's and
stayed at St. Elizabeth's for a while, and I kept getting in trouble. I kept acting out.
what kind of trouble?
I would steal. I would steal food. I would fight with people. I loved to fight. Was very angry at the world.
Right.
And then I get punished, and so finally I just decided to run away. And I ran away from home, and I went downtown to the French Quarter.
The home being St. Elizabeth's?
St. Elizabeth's was uptown on Napoleon Avenue. And so I ran away and went to the French Quarter.
I ran away on my 15th birthday to the French Quarter.
You did?
Yeah, I got arrested in the bus stop in Baton Rouge. I didn't make it. But so how old were you then?
I was 14.
All right. So you go to the quarter. How hard did they look for you?
So they really didn't look for me a lot.
That's what I think.
And actually, I ended up getting emancipated by the time I was 15 because my mom and dad didn't want to be responsible for me.
All right. So when and I'm going to slow you down, Ms. Tina, and keep asking questions because I'm a visual person, right? So you go to the French Quarter. When I went to the French Quarter, I bummed some money from friends at school that day because I was in trouble for something else, and I knew it was on my birthday. My dad was like, "I'm gonna get you tomorrow," right? And so I was like, "You can get me." My birthday was Mardi Gras time, and I bumped some money from people at school, and had a girl take me to the bus station in Baton Rouge, and they got me. But I had no plan. But I knew I was going to go down there. I was going to party, and I was going to find somebody to shack up with or hang out with or whatever. So that's did you have somebody entice you to the quarter, or was that just where you wanted to go?
No, I actually went to the quarter, and what happened to me that night was I walked by a bar, and there were a line of Harley Davidsons in front of the bar.
Right.
And for me, my daddy was a biker,
right.
and so that was, I kind
So
of glamorized that. And so, and that night I ended up with an old man that was in the Galloping Gooses Motorcycle Club.
There you go. Right.
And I was stripping the next night on
Right.
Bourbon Street at Big Daddy's.
So they put you to work. I actually been to Big Daddy's. Probably should say that one. It's just that really how it works. I mean, people don't know that, but they choose, even though you thought you were a badass, even though you're a fighter and still think you're street smart and you're doing whatever, you're in the quarter and you see the Harleys and so you were 14 at the time, probably developed and whatever, and they're like, okay, we can use her.
A little bit well developed
Right.
for 14
That's
year
something.
old.
And this episode is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack and hydration sponsor. We're so excited to announce they've teamed up with Thomas Keller, Michelin star chef of the French Laundry, on 2 special edition products, a salted caramel chip protein bar and a yuzu mango hydration mix. Y'all, the salted caramel chip bar is officially my new favorite protein bar. It tastes just as dreamy as it sounds, sweet and salty and totally addicting in the best way. This collaboration grew out of Chef Keller's daily regimen of IQ Bar products and combines IQ Bar's nutritional excellence with Keller's culinary expertise. IQ Bar's plant protein bars are packed with clean and delicious ingredients that keep you physically and mentally fit. Example, the salted caramel chip IQ Bar has 12 grams of protein and only 1 gram of sugar, plus brain-boosting nutrients like lion's mane adaptogen. The yuzu mango IQ mix is a refreshing zero sugar hydration mix that marries bold flavor, essential electrolytes for your body, and lion's mane plus magnesium for your brain. Just mixed with water for the Michelin star taste and next level hydration. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. When IQ Bar sent me the salted caramel chip IQ Bar and the yuzu mango IQ mix, I was blown away. I couldn't believe something so delicious could be good for me. I had never had yuzu before either. In case you don't know, it's a citrus fruit, a cross between a lemon, a grapefruit, and a mandarin, which pairs well with sweet tropical essence of mango. And right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text RLRC to 64,000. Text RLRC to 64,000. That's RLRC to 64,000. Regular message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. You ever notice how the smallest changes can completely reset your mood? Like lighting a candle or cracking a window or slipping into a bed that actually feels like it belongs in a luxury retreat. We've been switching things up for the summer over here, and let me just say, refreshing your bedroom with avocado green mattress bedding is totally a game changer, y'all. You already know Avocado for the certified organic mattresses, but their bedding is next level. I'm talking soft, breathable, and sustainably made pieces that don't just look good, they feel like an upgrade for your whole life. Their organic cotton sheets, GOTS certified and insanely soft, like sleeping in a fancy hotel. And their natural linen duvet just gets better every time you wash it. Light, airy, and built to last. We sleep better when we sleep cool, and natural materials like these don't trap heat the way synthetics do. Avocado's bedding helps regulate your temperature all night long, which means no waking up sweaty, no tossing and turning, just good, deep sleep. What I really love, though, you're wrapping yourself in responsibly sourced comfort. These materials are organic, renewable, and ethically made. Better for you and better for the planet. That's what Avocado is all about. Mission-driven sustainability without sacrificing luxury. Head to avocadomattress.com today to save 10% on all bedding and 50% on clearance bedding. Avocado, dream of better. For them, that's like not only eye candy, it's possible moneymaker. I don't know if you told them you just ran away or whatever. I'm sure they asked you what you doing here by yourself, and then turn that into you stay the night with the guy, and then they were like, "You want to make some money?"
Right. You want to, yeah. And so they just kind of initiate you into the club, and,
right.
And the initiation was the same that you hear all the time.
Right.
They ran a train and
right.
with a 14-year-old child.
Right.
I was scared to death, and I did what they told me to do.
Right, and that emboldens them even more, right? Because we can run the train and get away with it, and she's not going to run screaming to the police. Then they can get more out of it. They know they can press the envelope, and then the boy and what they would want is not only to have you there for those needs, but to make money.
Exactly.
And so how, if you remember, how did they get you to be daddy? So it was like.
So, they got me an ID first. We went to go see some guy, and he came in and he made these cards, and so they got me an ID. Yeah. And then we went down to the club, and he just told the guy to put me to work, like they already had girls working there.
Right. And then how much percent, or did they take all of it?
No, they took all of it.
All of it, and even tips and.
No, you got money every day to eat with. And and they kept all the money, and their whole premise was like, we're supporting you, so this is your contribution.
What I'm saying, when you're dancing, you're making tips and stuff, and they just kept it.
They just took it all.
So I'm sure they split a certain percentage with Big Daddies, what have you. And so you're working, you're making the money. Where were they housing you?
That I was working like on, late at night till like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and after work they expected you to, go out with the clients in the club.
Right. So prostitution.
Prostitution, yeah.
Okay, and so they're really making the money,
mm-hmm.
and so you going out with the clients, you doing the prostitution, and that I guess they would. I'm sure they had to offer you some level of protection in their mind, right? They don't want this. You're making the money. It'll be like I was a race car driver on my race car to run,
right?
And they are telling you who to go with, client wise, or how did it work?
A lot of times they arranged it. Then later on in the relationship, I would take care of it, and I would, naturally just leave the money on the dresser. Sometimes he would go out of town. And it was one of those times that he went out of town that I encountered my first pimp from the Dixie Mafia.
Okay. All right. Hold on. He is the guy with the motorcycle club.
Yes.
And they were 1%ers.
1%ers.
And so he is making the money off of it. I'm sure he's kicking back to the club, however it works. How long did this go on for?
Probably about 4 or 5 months before I left him for this other guy.
All right. So the other guy, he's got game. I already know this, right? Yeah. He's a career. You didn't tell me this. I'm guessing he's a career pimp if he can pull you away from the club, right?
Right.
And where'd you meet him at?
So I met him. Actually, I remember exactly. I met him at this bar called Funky Butts. Huh. And I walked past Funky Butts on the way to work, and he was sitting there, and he had like 3-piece suit and a brim on, and he had a pistol sitting on the table. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like in my mind, this is what I aspired to.
Right.
And so he saw me walk by. He called me in, and I sat at the table with him for a little while, and he made this plan for me to leave with him.
Right. And How old do you think this guy was?
Probably about 35. At that time, I think I was 35 at that time.
All right. And so he makes the plan for you to leave with him. Y'all at Funky Bunch. Where do you go?
Yeah, so we leave and we start driving around the little small areas where they have the bar rooms, where they have the card games in the back.
Yeah, the illegal card.
And so we went on this 4-day trip doing cocaine, playing cards.
Right. So let's talk about that. You said he's Dixie Mafia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for the people who don't know, and I have some stories about that myself, and I'm sure you can confirm some of them, but the people don't know, Dixie Mafia was bigger. I mean, New York had the five families and all that. Dixie Mafia ran the coast, especially South Louisiana, Mississippi, and all those areas.
Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, all the way out.
And when I say they ran it, alcohol, drugs, prostitution, gambling, everything, all the vices, and they ran it hard. And they people think Teflon Don and them were bad dudes, and nothing on Dixie Mafia. I know for a fact how violent they were and what they would do to people. But so you're now hooked up with the Dixie Mafia. They're feeding you, dope and taking you. Each one of those car rooms that you went in, they ran it.
They ran it, some different guy ran it.
Right.
And he said it was
they're giving kickbacks. You didn't run illegal anything, including this area, all the way Hammond, Louisiana. I know still run over there, but the Dixie Mafia got their cut.
Yeah,
and that was either for the police to look the other way, and they had to establish, or people were getting paid off or whatever.
Were paying people off.
Right. And that's how they exist, right? And they were paying for protection. Otherwise, if you got a good upstanding sheriff, they were going to go in and shut it down. And that's not how it worked. And money talks, right?
That's right. So I know in particular Cat Doucette from Opelousas. I'm sure you know that story.
I do know the name, and I know actually knew one of the family members. So
they had a spot in Opelousas called Jean's Lounge, and it was one of the spots that the Dixie Mafia owned and worked girls in.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, I'm sorry for keeping interrupting, but I know. People want to hear so you're with this guy. Y'all going what? Coke, meth?
Yeah, coke. It wasn't really a lot of meth.
The bikers were the only ones that had it. And it wasn't the good stuff. It was the yellow meth. But so you're doing coke and hitting the different establishments. Are you working for them then too?
No, not at that point. So
you're like his lady or his girlfriend.
Right. So about the third day that we had been up, we pulled in this bar, and it happened to be his bar. Crazy thing is, do you remember the old Forest Club in Baton Rouge?
Gosh.
It was on Florida Boulevard. There was a golf thing by it years and years ago. Well, that was his club. Yeah. And so he stopped there. We went in the back. And it was a room full of clothes racks, and they had overnight bags, and they had like toiletries. And then he had a girl there, and she picked out clothes for me. They measured me.
Really?
They put the toiletry bag together, and then they brought me out to Krotz Springs.
Really? Okay. So this is like an assembly line to set someone up for the prostitution and to work and
in the brothels and they called them lockup joints back then.
Yeah, and so lockup joints meaning that the harsh term would be whorehouse or whatever.
Right.
The brothels. So you go in this place on Florida Boulevard, and y'all not from Louisiana. That's like used to, especially back in the day, be the main drag. The Baton Rouge where everything was okay. And you go in the back of this place and he's got racks of stuff. Like a similar line. They measure you. They want you to look good, right? So you make money and measure you, give you everything that you need to survive, and then ship you down basically down Highway 90 all the way to Krotz Springs.
Down Highway 190, and there was a lot of spots, like from the Riviera all the way down.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so there was a spot. This place actually was called The Spot in LeBeau, Louisiana.
Where's that?
It's right behind Krotz Springs.
Okay.
So like in the middle of the rice field.
Right. So, okay, y'all are not from here. Krotz Springs, probably, it's in between Baton Rouge and Lafayette, 190, cross the bridge, and you come into Krotz Springs. Now, Billy, the original Billy Star there or whatever. It's a very small town. You get a ticket, and a lot of my kinfolk were actually from there. And a lot of my sister's husband's kinfolks are from there, the Jeffrons. But you go to work in Krotz Springs?
Yeah, so we drive up, and it's this series of trailers, and I always speak about this when I'm telling my testimony, is these trailers were shaped like a cross.
Really?
And they had just rooms, rows and rows of rooms.
I wonder if that's like for security. I understand the religious implication, and I'm a firm believer in that, but I wondered if that's like for security reasons. So the windows you can see, was the 4 CCTV or anything else? Right.
You could.
Yeah.
It was very secure, and they rolled over like a bell, and the bell would come on, and all the girls would go to the front room. And they pick out just like the brothels in Nevada.
Right. So you're in the back. If you're not busy doing whatever, maybe sleeping, whatever, they ring the bell. You're expected to get up, get on show on the menu, right? And the client picks you up.
He picks you off, and he pays the man at the door. He doesn't. You're not supposed to touch money at all. But we all do. We get money and show it in our pillows. And,
So did you have like your own room, one of the trailers?
Yes.
And that's where you worked out of and you stayed. Wow. How busy was it?
It was really busy. It was during the oil boom in Louisiana. Okay. We had all these guys coming in from the oil rigs.
Hub City, Lafayette and everything, that area. If you're from outside of Louisiana, that's either you're in there's some of agriculture too, but the oil boom was the big boom.
Yeah, right? and they had places in Mamou, like the old holiday, the whole holiday lounge.
We're talking about. Yeah, I know a case from there, a murder case from there back in the day. Now you're
talking. Granger was the murder case you're talking about, the killing fields. So I know them really well from back in those days. Jimmy Danos and Farrell Granger.
And you're talking about small town Louisiana. We're not talking about being in New York City or Los Angeles, whatever. We're talking about the Dixie Mafia running these places, and I guess in my mind, from a law enforcement standpoint, you almost want to put it in Erath or Eunice or wherever small because you can control it better. Right, you control the local cops, and then you control the local politicians, local judges, and everything else. And it's crazy. So you're there, you're working. I mean, to put an idea on the lifestyle at this point, we didn't even talk about it yet. But you're being sex trafficked.
Right. That's real sex trafficking.
And they are moving you, they're dressing you, they're feeding you, they're housing you, but your sole job is to make them money.
And you're not leaving.
Form of sex. No, that's.
I tried one time.
Did you? Where were you? Can you tell me about that?
I was actually at the spot, and they tried to keep the liquor from the girls.
Right. They could give you like the colored drinks.
They could do like the colored drinks, and they'd serve the drinks to the guys. But the guys would always sneak in alcohol for the girls.
Right.
And so I got really drunk one night, and I was just obnoxious. I was like, I'm leaving the F out of here, and nobody's going to stop me. And they stopped me.
They stopped. They give you a beating?
They chained me to a bed until my old man could get there. Wow. And he did in front of everybody.
Yeah. And it's just the same guy that had the place on one
Yes.
So he's And well, he's in the mafia anyway, so it doesn't matter. Dixie Mafia.
I was with him for 3 years until I was 17.
So they chain him to the bed, and he's got to probably drive an hour and a half. There was no cell phones.
Right, no cell phones.
We're not text messaging anybody. So they got to get a hold of this guy, and then he comes over and he beats you in front of everybody to teach him a lesson.
Right, exactly.
And when you say beating, can you describe it?
It mostly a lot of they started with a belt. Yeah. There was a lot of kicking and stomping. Yeah. That's kind of how them guys always like to fight. And that's fucking horrible. So they beat you down, and that's all serves a dual purpose in their mind. Teach you a lesson. You won't run again, or if you do, it's going to be worse next time. And I would imagine all the other girls there are like, this is what you're going to get. Right. So I'm not going to try that.
When you're in there, do they keep you supplied with dope?
No. Okay. No, they don't. They keep you pretty much straight, which I didn't like at all at that point in my life. It was really difficult to deal with that whole situation without any alcohol or any drugs. Right. Because the clients would sneak in drugs.
Yeah. Some of them, keep them down by banging them, push the dope or whatever. You get dope sick, you don't go out and make the money.
Right.
You get sick, I won't give you your dope. So, but they were keeping you straight, which again goes to show you how smart the Dixie Mafia is.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right, because,
if you keep somebody straight when they're straight, you cut down all the dope problem.
It's a liability for the drugs and alcohol.
How much do you think you would make or how many customers would you see on a busy Saturday night?
Probably around 8, 7, 8
in a night.
So I usually make about my quota was to make $500 in a night.
Wow. Back then, $500. That's
a lot of money. Yeah, it was a lot of money.
We're talking mid-80s now?
Yeah, late 70s.
Late 70s?
78, 79.
I mean, you can get a coat for like a nickel or 10 cents, right? Mm-hmm. So $500 a night. You didn't see any of it.
Mm-mm. I mean, what they would do is they pick you up every 10 days. So you do a hit, they call it a hitch. And you do a hitch for 10 days. They pick you up, they take you shopping, they get you high for the whole time, they get your hair done, they do all of that, and then they take you back.
Right. It's kind of like doing an offshore hitch on an oil rig. Mm-hmm. And then you come in, they take you in, so they pamper you and do whatever, like you said, get you high. And golly, I can't even imagine. Yeah. And then how old are you at this time?
I was with him from the time I was 14 until I was 17.
Talk about effing up your development years, right?
Oh yeah, it was.
And I mean 14 to 17. But so, how many girls do you think they would have you talk about the place
25 girls.
Are you serious?
Now some places, like there's a place in Abbeville.
Abbeville, I know. I got stores in all those places.
Yeah, there was a place in Abbeville, and they usually had about 4 or 5 girls. It just depended on the place, but the spot was really a big place. Yeah. And they had spots in Biloxi, all the way up the coast.
So back to the place that was across. That was in
LeBeau, Louisiana.
In LeBeau, and so I guess it probably rotates you anyway.
Yeah,
so client base as much as anything.
They called it the circuit.
All right.
And they moved the girls from place to place.
Yeah.
So there, like I said, there was places in Mamou, there was places in Homa, there was places in Dulac, there was places in Abbeville, Morgan City, and they just moved these girls to these different brothels, anywhere where there was a lot of oil trade.
Wherever the money was.
And
the guys,
the customers,
disposable income. And I know you had fake ID and stuff, but I guess by shipping you around, it keeps the guys from falling in love with you and trying to make you out, or you falling in love with them. I get that from a bad guy standpoint. your fresh face. So it's just effed up.
It was really effed up. And so, but I stayed working the circuit for about 2 years. The last year that I was with him, he had a bar on the other side of Homa in Des Allemands.
Yeah, I know exactly what it is.
And so he would put me to work at his bar, and he had some rooms in the back. So he had a couple of girls working. It's like his space.
Right. So you probably pocketed more of it.
Right, and I did. And so my drug habit was a lot, because I was able to hide it from him a lot more.
What was your drug?
I like to do speed, like Preludins. From way back. That's what everybody did, Disoxins and Preludins right then. And he would supply that to me sometimes too. But that really came to a quick halt. One day he had left me to run the bar, and he came back in and he caught me in the back room doing drugs with a customer. And he shot at him.
Really?
The guy was able to get out, but he beat me unconscious with a pool stick.
God.
Like all night long, he just beat on me. And then he dumped me on the side of 7-Eleven. And when I came to, I called my father.
You think he thought he killed you?
I think he thought I was dead.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that's unbelievable. Dumps you on the side of the 7-Eleven, leaves you basically for dead.
For dead, yes.
And where was the 7-Eleven?
In Homa.
And you wake up and you call your dad.
Yeah, I called my dad at this point. And I went to the hospital. I went to hospital in Baton Rouge. I went to a psych hospital. Back then, there wasn't like...
You're still a kid.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I was 17.
Right. And so you go to the hospital.
I go to the hospital. I stay a while at the hospital. And then I get out and I go live with my grandmother, and I go back to high school like nothing ever happened.
That's not fixing it, did it?
Yeah, it wasn't fixing me.
Yeah. So where'd your grandmother live? Where'd you go back?
I went to school, high school at Ostruma.
Okay. So you're in Baton Rouge.
I'm in Baton Rouge.
And how long did it take for sugar to turn to shit?
Well, during that time, there were a lot of students that lived in the house, in the apartments that she lived in, and I met some Iranian students. And I ended up marrying one of the Iranian guys so he could get his green card.
Right.
And had 2 children from him, and like all that happened to me was never brought up again.
Right.
Until later in my life.
Yeah, so you go from 6 to 8 guys a night being beat near to death, hospital, psych hospital. What did they say at the psych hospital? Not much.
Not much. They
then.
just
They didn't really know
with medication. They didn't really know what trauma was back then.
Right. They didn't even know what PTSD was back then.
Right.
Well, you naturally would have
PTSD
from this, not from war, but from being put in the circuit.
Exactly.
Since you're basically a baby. I mean, not a baby, but 14.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go live with your grandmother, marry the Iranian guy.
I married an Iranian guy. I had
2 kids.
2 children.
Boy and girl.
A boy and a girl, 2 years apart. And about after my second child was born.
How old were you when you got married?
17.
Okay.
Just right before I was 18.
All right. 17, and y'all still live in the same place? Or?
No. We got an apartment somewhere in Baton Rouge. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and about a year, about probably 6 months after I had Nicholas was a year old. After I had my second child, I started doing like drugs here and there, and I was hiding drugs, and I ended up leaving and going back to the pimp because it was the only life that I knew that I was really comfortable in. I had been thrown in this life into motherhood, and I was not ready for motherhood because I was pretty broken.
Right. It's definitely the furthest thing from being on the circuit, right?
Right.
Motherhood, we all know parenting is, sucks a lot of times, right? It's hard. What did your husband do? I mean, as for work?
Oh, he's a car dealer.
All right. And so you start falling back into it, slipping back into it. And eventually you go back to the same guy that beat you with the bullshit.
I went back to the same guy.
And what did he say?
I had been talking to him on the phone, and he got in my head, you know.
Yeah,
and he
well,
got
you know
in my
what?
head.
He wanted you back.
Right, exactly.
Right? And so you're talking to him on the phone. He's pumping you up, sucks you back in. And so where'd you go?
I went back. He was in Homa at the time. He had another little bar. I went to work for another little bar.
So on these bars, it's not like the cross trailers where it's, I'm sure they're not established as still a bar, but you like work out, sit down at the bar, talk to a guy that comes in, hey, you want to buy me a drink?
That kind of, yeah.
And was it one of the deals where
there were rooms in the back.
But I'm talking about the drink part. Hey, you want to buy me a drink? And it's extra. They do it to keep you talking to them. This is before you go to the back.
Right.
And when the drink is sugar water, whatever.
Yeah, or maybe like something like slow gin or cream de mint.
Right. And then they're making an exorbitant amount of money off the drink.
Right, exactly.
And then at some point, you close the deal to go in the back room.
Right.
Wow. And then, and what happens? You say anything?
So, I didn't stay with him that long. I left him for another, so this is the thing with traffickers, is they try to steal each other's girls.
Yeah.
So I met another guy that he would hang out with, and I left with this guy, which is when you mentioned the thing that happened in Mamu with Farrell Granger, and Jimmy Danos was the guy that I left with. And
Really?
Farrell was his best friend, so that's how I knew all about that.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm gonna boot this out. I'll come back to it later. I actually did a thing on, but so I didn't know that you were the female that was involved. Some other things. All right, boom. It was popping in my head. So we're talking about sex trafficking now. That's not just, before I'm trying to put a label on it in my mind's eye, or before I knew, like, talk about sex trafficking, and you're thinking about a pimp and a Cadillac or whatever, or street walking and stuff like that. This is like legit big business, hardcore lifestyle. Organized crime. That's what I was looking for. This is organized crime. This is not some solo, I'll pimp my girlfriend out for a night to one guy. This is big business.
Big business, exactly.
And if you told about getting beat with the pool stick, left for dead by the 7-Eleven, that's all part of the trafficking. I mean, I think he must have thought you were dead. Otherwise, he knows he's losing money.
Right.
Everybody's afraid he messed you up so bad. He's going to the hospital, and the hospital's going to have to report.
Right.
And they're going to come after him. And this is all Dixie Mafia?
It's all the Dixie Mafia.
And how did you know that?
Because they used to call themselves characters.
Right.
And so, and I found that out much later, actually, that they were the Dixie Mafias. I always said they were characters, and then when that whole story came out that you referred to earlier, I started putting it all together, and the names started adding up, and I'm like,
yeah.
Did you know there's an online cannabis company that ships federally legal THC right to your door? And they found a way to combine THC with carefully selected functional ingredients to target nearly every mood and health concern you can think of. I'm talking about Mood.com's incredible line of functional gummies. And you can get 20% off your first order at Mood.com with promo code RLRC. Forget one-size-fits-all supplements that only get you high. Mood's functional gummies are optimized to kick in as little as 15 minutes and take you to the mood
that you're looking for. Whether that's Mind Magic Gummies for deep work and creativity, PMS support to ease cramps and balance mood swings, or their sexual euphoria gummies to help you feel ready for action and turn every touch into a full body experience. Look, y'all, you know I have trouble sleeping. I take the Sleepy Time gummy. I take a quarter of one before I go to sleep, and I sleep hard all night long. Never even move, wake up feeling fresh as a daisy. So listen, you can find gummies to just get you high pretty much anywhere these days. But Mood's functional gummies combine premium federal legal THC with targeted botanicals to help you get into that perfect mood, usually in as little as 15 minutes. And everything ships discreetly right to your door. No dispensary lines, no awkward conversations, just better days and nights delivered to your doorstep. Best of all, not only is every Mood product backed by a 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as I mentioned, listeners get 20% off their first order with code RLRC. So head to Mood.com, find the functional gummy that matches exactly what you're looking for, and let Mood help you discover your perfect mood. And don't forget to use promo code RLRC when you check out to save 20% on your first order. Hey, you know what doesn't belong in your epic summer plans? That's getting burned by your old wireless bill. While you're planning beach trips and barbecues and 3-day weekends, your wireless bill should be the last thing holding you back. That's why I made the switch to Mint Mobile. With plans starting at $15 a month, Mint Mobile gives you premium wireless service on the nation's largest 5G network. The coverage and the speed you're used to, but way less money. So while your friends are sweating over data overages and surprise charges, you'll be chilling literally and financially. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you. All plans come from high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered to the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. I use this and you should too. And honestly, the switch to Mint Mobile was a no-brainer for me. The service is just as good as my old provider, but my bill is a fraction of what it used to be. I haven't had any dropped calls. My data speeds are solid, and knowing I'm saving money every single month, that's the real win. This year, skip breaking the sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/RLRC. That's mintmobile.com/RLRC. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months. 5 gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for the first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees are extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
And that's how women usually find out that they've been sex trafficked. You don't know it when it's happening. That wasn't even a term back then.
Right. No, it wasn't. And so that's crazy. The mind blowing. I want to continue your story. And let me ask you a couple questions real quick, and then y'all, we're going to wrap up this week's episode. Miss Tina, obviously you're alive, you're breathing, and you're here with Mr. Jimmy, super nice guy, and
my fiance.
Your fiance? Uh-oh, I put a ring on it. He's sleeping. Mr. Jimmy's resting. Y'all went and ate at Jason Jackson's restaurant. My boy, we graduated together, and he was the quarterback. And then his daddy, actually Jason and my other best friend, cooked the prime rib for my daddy's funeral service.
The food was great.
It's a destination location. Yeah. But you, without giving too much away, because I want to build it up, but I want the lifers, that's what I call my fans, I want them to know, obviously, you're alive, you're well, you're prospering, but that means you're a survivor, not a victim. You are a victim, but you're a survivor.
A survivor, thriver.
Really? That's a new term I hadn't heard before.
Yeah, survivor, thriver.
Survivor, thriver. And what I want to do is when we push this out, and I'm dropping on Friday. And then what I want to do is like starting out in the beginning, you know, put the human face on you. But you're already told me things that I couldn't imagine, right? And what's going to happen is when it comes out, all the fans are going to have questions and things like that. And that's something that we need to look at too, because what is it? What is going to be your mission? You go on record with me again, right?
Yes.
And so what is going to be your mission so I can start planning on it and the listeners out there can start, because they're going to have a million questions. And what is your mission about sex trafficking? What are we working towards?
So about 3 years ago, I opened up a women's professional network.
Okay.
And someone started donating classes to me, mastermind classes, and asked if I could get sex trafficking survivors to take these classes so that they could get professional jobs.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What are they called, classes?
Digital marketing classes, like masterminds for media buying, web design, that kind of stuff.
So they ask you, could you help the I would assume these women are getting out of the lifestyle, and they now need something they need to learn how. Well, you didn't know, like you said, that you thought that's the way you were living. They need skills to pay the bills now if they want to go straight and be legit. And so they
need more than skills to pay the bill. They need a way of life that they can do more than survive.
Okay.
So what we do is we teach sex trafficking survivors digital marketing skills. Okay. We train them to be media buyers, inside sales people, web designers, and help launch them in into professional skills. We have a curriculum that they follow. The professional women in our organization are assigned to each survivor as a mentor. And then we do practice. We do job readiness and practice interviews.
Okay. So, first of all, you're saying we. Who is we or what?
I have a couple of staff members. Jennifer Russ, she's our COO. She was a former school teacher and a survivor of sexual assault and domestic violence. Okay. And then I have Caroline Wynn, who has a master's in education and technical writing, and she's our education director. So she interfaces one-on-one with the girls through the curriculum.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, what is the name of the organization?
Queens of Digital Marketing.
Really? Queens
Yes.
of Digital Marketing. And so I know these type of programs. The youngest guy that got sentenced to life as a juvenile, he's now out. He's married to a doctor. He murdered a little girl who was on PCP. He was in, I think it was ERAS, somewhere by there. And he got out, and then they changed the law. And however many years ago, I had him on the Bloody and Gold podcast the other day. And but he now does a nonprofit, and same thing. They get convicts that are getting released. But they screen them themselves. You can't bullshit, right? And they screen themselves, and they do everything to teach them how to open a bank account, get a driver's license, get employment. They have to live in like the halfway houses.
You talking about the Parole Project?
Yes.
Jimmy just used to work at the Parole Project. He works with the Parole Project now.
And so, but I think, to me, and I think that's a fabulous program, but Digital Marketing Queens, what's it called?
So it was called Queens. And we have a digital marketing portion, and we have Queens Calls, which is our inside sales telemarketing training program.
So what was it first? It was Queens?
It was Queens. And Queens, either we teach them digital marketing or we teach them inside sales or telephone sales. Right. So it's Queens Digital Marketing, and Queens Calls.
Okay. So what... And I asked you about your mission, and you're living your mission, and you have some evidently great support staff thus far, and then things that y'all are doing. But You have a 501c?
I have a 501c3.
Okay, y'all. The 501c3 is a nonprofit, right? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah. So we're a nonprofit organization, meaning that we don't take a profit.
Right.
We use all the money that comes in either, and there are, of course, overhead costs. You can't run an organization without overhead costs.
Right. Well, you gotta pay a light bill.
Right. You gotta pay light bill.
You gotta pay whatever, the trash pickup. I gotta get it.
Yeah, right.
Nothing's free, right?
Right. And so, but all of our money goes into helping the girls.
Right. And that is, I think you got it wrong. I think you said helping the girls. You're saving their lives. Otherwise, and I'm sure, and we'll get into it, and we'll talk ahead of time before we record the next one. I'm sure they're the ones that are standing on that edge like you were, a mother of two, married, and been beaten within an inch of your life, but you still got something back in. And what you're doing now, you're not helping, you're saving lives.
That's
you're
right.
saving lives. And so what I want to do, and I just got guidelines for the first time, the goosebumps. I want to do lifers. I want y'all to listen to this, and Tina and I are going to do, and the best ones are the unscripted ones. We're going to talk about it, and I think we'll talk more about the story, and then include more of
the Queens, which is a 501c3. You can find the website at queensdm.org.
So the official name of the 501c3 is the Queens.
No, it's actually it's a.
So the Queens is the name of the 501c3, the nonprofit, y'all, is the Queens of Digital Marketing, right?
Right.
And but y'all, you're already doing this. I think it's a. You don't know they call me the Cajun Queen. That's a story for another day. But we're gonna call it the Queens. Mm-hmm. But the 501c is the Queens of Digital Marketing, and y'all, it is such a fantastic cause because they're saving lives. Just like I do LOPA every week, Louisiana Order Procurement Agency, and I ask you to sign up in my show every Saturday. I'm going to start every time Miss Tina and I are talking. Miss Tina, do you think, I mean, it's hard, it's just to think on it. Do you think at some point when you and I are done, and you can come up with whatever, could you actually get other people to tell their stories? Because the more people that tell the stories, the more we can get people to get involved in the Queens or the Queens of Digital Marketing 501c.
So, yes, I think I can, but I also have some audio from survivors who have completed my program.
Really?
And what the program looks like, about the experience of the program for themselves.
Okay. So how long have you had the Queens of Digital Marketing?
We're actually a 501c3, 3 years on June the 16th.
Right. That is, people don't know how hard it is to get a nonprofit.
It's very hard, and I have a good story about that too.
No, that we need to tell it next time.
I'm gonna save it for next time, but ask me about how I got it in 6 weeks.
What? And then I worked for one lady that helps families of murder victims for almost 2 years, I think. But so we're going to talk about that, y'all. I want you to look up. We're going to tag everything on social media. I think that Miss Tina, we're even going to put it up it'll be edited out. The video on YouTube. You're a fascinating lady. And what you call it? I call them survivors. What you call it?
Survivor thrivers.
Survivor thriver. But y'all, Queens of Digital Marketing, or the Queens for short, we'll affectionately call it the Queens, nonprofit, saving lives. You're teaching these ladies everything. We're going to get in that. I want everything that the program does, but these are true crime fans, and they get pissed off. My fans get pissed, and they were like, they really want to help, and that's what we want to do, y'all. Everything the Queens of Digital Marketing does, or the Queens, and we're going to get into all of it. Everything that they do, all the help that you can give is going to be saving life. And you don't sign up to be an organ donor because you're going to find out one day if they use your organs and they go to whomever, right? What I'm saying is, if the people donate to the Queens of Digital Marketing, the Queens, the 501(c)(3), you're doing it on faith and knowing that, and we'll get into it, that it's a great organization.
Right.
It's saving lives, but you're never going to know. You can hear some stories of some survivor thrivers, but there'll be ones that they're never going to hear about, right? And so, survivor, thriver, Queens of Digital Marketing, Queens, this team, you're a rock star. I can't wait to do it again.
Thank you. I can't wait to do it again either.
You're very natural. You're just down there like me. If we can hang out. And so, y'all, I'm going to conclude this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast with Miss Tina. Do you have anything you want to say that, to the listeners? Now, this is going worldwide.
Just human trafficking does not look like a little girl gets snatched up on the side of the street. It happens in our homes every day. Your daughter that's in there on social media could very well be talking to a trafficker. Monitor what your children are doing.
Yes, indeed, that is the real deal, right? And all right, the anything else?
No.
That is stupid for because I'm thinking about all these different things and some stuff we just did recently with online predators. But you've been awesome, and y'all we're literally scratching the tip of the icebergs. Queens of Digital Marketing, look them up. We're going to have all the links, everything, everywhere. Steve and I are going to call it the Queens affectionately, but the Queens of Digital Marketing. But you know what? Don't even do anything yet. You can if you want to. What is it, like donations?
You do go to a website, which is queensdm.org, and there's a donation button. Okay.
So, but even y'all can do it now if you want to, but I like to tell a story. And this story, we're scratching the tip of the iceberg. I want you to know, if I'm going to donate, I'm going to know it's legit and everything else. Well, Woody Overton's backing it. It's legit. But I want you all to hear the story. And then every story we tell is going to move you in some way. And even if it's what y'all are doing now, even if it's what you're doing now, you're saving lives and surviving, thriving. Queens of Digital Marketing. Tina, you're wonderful. I can't wait to learn everything about your organization. Do you have like an office or headquarters?
No, we're actually a 100% remote organization, and we service survivors all over the country. Really?
So I didn't even know that. But you're going to educate me on all of it?
Yes.
And I'm going to be professional when I get done. All right, and this is my calls. Y'all lifers, I told you I was going to take up the new calls, and I'm still always going to do LOPA, Queens of Digital Marketing, survivor thrivers of sex trafficking. And the main thing is keeping people from falling back in. Getting people out and falling back in. I would love to help get people out. Mm-hmm. And I'm a hands-on doer, but this platform, it will help, I think.
That's great.
And so... Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm Woody Overton, your host let me do this, because I always end it with LOPA. So I say, you don't have to be a lifer to become an organ donor. You don't have to be a lifer from Louisiana, because it's Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. You could be a lifer from whatever. So I'm going to do the same model, but I'm going to let you do the first one. To support the Queens of Digital Marketing, you don't have to be a lifer from the state of Louisiana. You could be a lifer from, pick any country in the world. Or anywhere in the United States. Any state where, first thing,
Florida.
All right. You could be a lifer from Florida. Go to
queensofdigitalmarketing.org Click the donate button and help a survivor become a thriver.
Help a survivor become a thriver, and as we grow this, we're going to get more people into the Queens of Digital Marketing, more survivor thrivers, and save lives.
Yes.
And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast with Tina. It's been awesome. It's been a blessing. Until next time or ever, don't let me catch you out on Murder by You. Peace.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?